The challenge will be that if Anglo tries to spin off both Amplats and Kumba, there will be some shareholders who won't be able to hold it in their portfolios. Their mandates just won't allow them. And also they probably may not want to own pure play platinum or iron ore companies. So if you have a lot of forced sellers, that puts some of the value in question for these two businesses. But I would say, look, I mean, Anglo have kind of opened the door a little bit because they've said, well, we will spin off Anglo Platinum. We are going to deal with this issue because, we think that a slimmer version of the company without Anglo Platinum is best for both companies. So they've kind of slightly opened up the door in terms of, well, we're going to do half of that anyway. So perhaps a compromise for BHP would be to say, okay, well, you do that and we'll deal with Kumba. That's possibly the next sort of compromise that may come out.
I mean, that's why it's so funny, because after BHP came out with the first offer, then Anglo, to kind of fend them off, was like, all right, we will divest a couple of these assets. Okay, so they're like weirdly giving approval to the deal, but also not at the same time. It's very odd. Taking a step back for a second, Grant, why does BHP want Anglo so badly?
I think there are two reasons. One, I think there is a bit of there was a bit of opportunism because Anglo's share price was relative to everyone else, the diversified miners, was under pressure after they cut production guidance, and the share price reacted badly on the back of that. So there is some opportunism. But if you look at the sort of scope and the quality of their copper assets, if you look at it on a margin basis, just a simple margin basis, their copper business actually generates better margins than BHP's overall. Now, in part because BHP has Olympic Dam in South Australia, which has been a challenging asset for them, but nevertheless, the quality is really good. And they have a lot of expansion options within their copper portfolio. So these are really good assets and would be very difficult to get hold of. So I think, I can see the attractiveness in the whole copper portfolio for BHP.
Grant, are you as bullish on copper as
the rest of the universe?
The rest of the universe?
Let me put it this way. I think the current price has got well away from where we are on a fundamental basis. So I think there's a lot of speculative interest in the metal. And just as a very rough gauge, the amount of interest I'm getting from more generalists, people I haven't spoken to before, kind of gives me that rough sense that, I think we're very, very squarely in a bull market, but there is a lot of speculative interest in the metal as well. So, yes, I can see the long-term appeal. I just think where we are currently, we're a little bit adrift from where fundamentals should suggest the price should be.
Yeah, that's the whole cyclical structural thing, right? Structural shift. We need copper for the long-term data centers, for the grid, for the power industry, for the green transition, but it's still cyclical, right? Like it's still going to be about China's property sector is not so great, etc. How do you think this plays out? So Anglo is going to talk to BHP until May 29th. What do you think happens in these 7 days?
Well, there's got to be a bit of movement. I think the interesting thing, if you read the Anglo response, it wasn't there that the BHP's bid undervalued the company. So it's all going to I think it all boils down to the deal structure. Now, as I say, if BHP is willing to compromise on perhaps Kumba, they move closer together, or there's some sort of adjustment where BHP does lift an offer in lieu of the fact that there's this risk that if they have to sell Kumba or spin it off, there's this flow back risk. So I think that's what the discussion point is going to be. It depends on the willingness of Anglo and both parties to compromise a little bit more, I guess.
Okay.